What are you showing off?
What am I showing off?
Yeah, by the way, this is episode 95, possibly. I don't know. We may do it. We may not. Who knows? But you just said you were just showing off numbers from Strava. What are you showing off?
No, I was just saying I did a perfectly paced ride. The intent was to do a zone 2 ride, and it was pretty much.
You did a zone 2 ride with intent? I don't even think that's possible. Do those guys go anything other than zone 20? Excuse me.
I have
24.5 or whatever their average speed
I would
is.
have no comment on there since I've never ridden with any of them. So no. And it's like a bazillion degrees outside today, and I kept my heart rate in zone 2. So I'm just that was my goal.
It is a bazillion degrees outside. We're all sweating our brains out, and there is a fan up here, and it is directly behind me, and I'm moving around. So if anybody catches any odor and wants me to move, let me know.
So far, so good.
All right, good.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. So Strava, you're saying Strava's bullshit.
Yeah, I have weird viewpoints on all that shit.
But why? Why do you say it's bullshit? I'm not disagreeing with you.
Well, I mean, if you can manually put in your zones, if you know what your zones are, and you just put them in Strava as that, then that's not bullshit.
So is that the contention? Is that the analysis side of Strava is bullshit?
I never paid attention to Strava. I always paid attention to Training Peaks.
Yeah, I mean, from a training standpoint, yeah, it's just
Strava is the Facebook of cycling.
Wow.
I would agree.
It is.
I would say primarily it's basically for social media. If you have Training Peaks and all that, why would you use Strava for analysis?
I pieced out a Strava years ago.
But you have Training Peaks, and you just pulled up Strava
because it's easier. I just like the way they do the pie chart, or I guess it's not really a pie chart, but I like the way visually it represents the percentages that you spent in all your zones. I like the way they do that in the circle as opposed to bars that I have set up on Training Peaks. But I can probably change Training Peaks also to have it look different. I don't know.
Does it tell you how much time you spent in those zones?
Yes.
As well as the percentage? I don't know. It's been years since I've had
on Training Peaks, I think I just have it. It tells me how many minutes I spent in each zone.
Correct.
And in a bar chart. Whereas on the Strava one, has the circle, and it's like, okay, here's 100% of your ride. This percentage of it was in zone 1, this percent in zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5. And it gives you the percentage of your ride that you spend in each zone. I visually, I think I just like seeing it represented that way.
Nice.
Yeah. But I look at both. I do. I don't need to look at, I mean, mostly I just use Training Peaks I have my zone set up the same in both, so it doesn't really matter.
What are zones?
See, that's my thing. Like, why do people have both? Why not just have one or the other?
One or the other. What do you mean?
Why don't
between Strava?
If you have Training Peaks, why do you have Strava? And if you have Strava, why do you need Training Peaks?
Strava adds the social media,
the social aspect of it.
The social aspect of it. I know that there are probably people that use it to track all of their workouts. You can tell. I mean, people put in like, I did 30 minutes of yoga. I did this, and there's like no map or anything. It's like, okay, yay. Maybe that's just them tracking all of this, and this is how they choose to do it. I track all my training on Training Peaks. The Strava part is primarily the social part. I don't put all of my workouts on Strava. I only, I like to look at other people's routes. I like to see where other people ride, and it gives me sometimes ideas. And I have taken other people's routes and rides that they've done and used all or portions of that to come up with new ride ideas in different areas of the suburbs and stuff, and even around me. Damn, Diana Rieger Roberts, she rides like freaking everywhere. And if she's listening to this podcast, it's just like, you have the best route information.
I don't know
out
if
there.
I follow her on here, but
she rides a bazillion miles everywhere, and she lives not too far away from me, so she's like in my neck of the
got
woods
a lot of really good ideas for.
and
yeah.
I like looking at her maps and being like, oh, I never ever thought about riding through there. That's cool. That's a good idea, and then I can develop rides from that.
I totally get that, and I've talked a lot of shit about Strava and having Strava for years. I get that, but I slowly started using Strava, the free side, and then at some point I decided to start paying for it within the last year or two, and I still gain enough value for me that it is definitely one of the apps that I use, and for me, it's a lot of the same thing. Part of it is, let's face facts, I don't ride a lot. And so it's very nice to be able to, when I do ride, to be able to have what I've done uploaded and then getting that cookie from all those people that I know. You know,
there is it's a little ego thing. It's a cracker to the damn parrot.
Absolutely, you feel validated.
Absolutely, you feel validated. You feel recognized. You feel seen, and it feels good to feel seen.
Peace.
It just does. It just does.
Yeah, and I don't know why I need that. I don't.
Well,
I wouldn't say I need it.
I would say everybody that's on Strava enjoys it. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
And everybody that enjoys Strava is there for that reason. Everyone that enjoys Facebook is there for that reason.
Right.
Everyone that enjoys any form of social media is there for that reason.
But so I sit there and I say, I enjoy getting that, but I don't necessarily give out kudos that much. And I'm not going on Strava if I haven't ridden and posted something. So in other words, I'm not seeing everybody's stuff every day, which seems a little empty and selfish on my part. Because if I enjoy that part of it, I should go out and give that. So I try to give more. But the other part of it, to your point, I look at where people are riding, and a lot. And I start to see, oh, geez, I didn't know, like, how are they getting through that area? I know that area pretty well, and I've never ridden that direction through there. Like, how are they doing that? I thought there was this in the way or that in the way. And you can actually zoom in and see exactly where they're going. It's like, you know what? Next time through there, I'm going to try that and give it a shot. And it's actually kind of changed some of my routes. I've gotten a lot of benefit, to your point, from looking at it that way. And so I do like it. I will say, in terms of mapping and courses, I don't really like Garmin for doing that. I don't like Ride with GPS. A lot of people use Ride with GPS, and I don't know why they do. I think it's just because it's more...
It's pretty simple.
Unilateral.
To create routes?
It's pretty simple.
To create and share routes.
You know what? This past weekend, I was playing around with Ride with GPS, and I thought, and I've used this in the past like this, and I don't do it a ton, and I think it's very... it's a really useful thing. Is like I was over in Iowa at the bike races down by Burlington and Muscatine, and I wanted to plan some routes to just go ride when I was down in the area. So I could go into that area and say, okay, Burlington, Iowa, show me routes. I can designate whether it's paved, unpaved, or a combination of both. I can designate the length of the routes, be anywhere from a minimum of this to a maximum of this. I can even filter out based on elevation and all of that, and just have it show me routes. And it will show me routes that other people have created. Anybody who has created a route on Ride with GPS and has made it public, it's on there. And I had tons of routes to choose from, both gravel, paved, mixed, and I'm like, this is amazing. I could just pick one and say, put this in my library. And then the next time I turn on my Garmin, I can go to my IQ. I have Ride with GPS, which is like you can get the app on your Garmin, and I can just go to that app on my Garmin and say, go to my pinned routes, and I can pick that one and load it into the library on my Garmin. I don't have to plug it into anything. It's like,
that's a link I did not know of.
It's just this really cool thing.
The reason why I like Strava, and I've used almost every routing software there's ever been. Going back to, I remember Run with GPS, or like one of there was like a breadcrumb thing where you would have to put in actual map coordinates for the turns and say which directions they were, and it would try to reconstruct a route. And then you would have to download the GPX and load it all through your, I want to say my Garmin 305, but I don't think it was a 305. I think it was a 705 is when they started getting like navigational capabilities and, or at least breadcrumb mapping. And I've used almost every system over the years, and even Map My Ride, use that for eons. I just, something about Ride with GPS doesn't work for me. It works for me. It's fine, but it just doesn't, I don't know. But if I use Strava, the Ride with GPS elevations seem completely off to me. And if I use Strava mapping, I get better heat mapping, in my opinion.
Yeah, if I want heat mapping, I usually go to Strava. But if I want to look at routes that other people have created and are publicly, I like Ride with GPS.
Well, I mean, okay, so Strava's got a ton of rides that people have publicly created. They do have the ability to look at those.
Right.
Garmin does too. Garmin probably has an even more complete library of that. All of that is way too fucking confusing for me. Like looking for routes and stuff. No. But, and I'll get into that, but doing a route from scratch, it seems like Strava works extremely well for me. The elevation is really good. And in terms of loading it in my device and this and that, I don't have to do shit. Because I'm always doing this for doing gravel. So it's always using my Wahoo Element, Bolt, whatever the hell it is. And so I just load my Element app, open it up, and just say, go look at my routes. Right. And it looks at Strava because it's synced to it, and it pulls the route in immediately.
Right.
And it's on my device as soon as I turn my device on. I never have to do anything.
Yeah.
And that, to me, even to this day with Garmin, you still, for the most part, I mean, you're saying you with this IQ app you can put on there, but for the most part, if I want to take a raw like GPX course, I've still got to go put it in the folder, plug it into a computer, put it in the folder to be able to, on Garmin. So when you start it up, it puts it in, loads it into the file.
I haven't done that in years.
Yeah, well then how do you load it?
Everything is, it talks.
Through Ride with GPS.
Through Ride with GPS, I can have the Strava IQ app on my phone. If I have a Garmin, if I have a activity, or if I have a route or a course or anything that is on my Garmin Connect account, I could just say send to device, and it just does. It goes through.
Well, on Garmin Connect, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it does.
Yeah,
but
you still have to sync your. You still have to sync on using your Garmin app on your phone.
Yeah, you have to have the Garmin app open in the background, which I always do anyway because I have a Garmin watch. So it's always in the background open, but I don't have to do anything with it on my phone.
You have to sync to your device.
No, it does it in the background automatically. It's always syncing. It is always syncing automatically. You don't have to tell it to sync. It just syncs. It's always syncing periodically.
This is the same person who couldn't get routes uploaded for years. So I don't even want to, the problems you were having with the last one.
Route beef. Hashtag route beef.
I don't even know what you're talking about. That had to be years ago.
No, you got a whole new device because you were having problems with your 530.
I had an 830, and the problem I had was that it was taking forever in a day to upload activities. This had nothing to do with routes.
No, I know, but you're talking about constantly syncing, and it just works, and it doesn't always just work. Was my point. Is that you just got done with having a hell of a lot of problems with it not just working.
In of all the thousands of Garmins that I've owned, that was the only one unit that I ever had it take a long time to upload an activity that after I had just finished a ride. That's the issue I was having.
Now, your old 820 does that too. I should know because we still have it and use it.
I don't know.
The old, never mind. You've had other devices that have problems, but you're not using them anymore. We're using them.
Well, I have the 840 now. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I had the 1030 before that. Before I had the 830, I had the 1030, and it was perfect. Everything just syncs up. So it's just.
I don't know. I've always I love I have a 530. I still use it. I love it. I have no problems with it. I use it on the road. Mm-hmm. I use the Element on off road, and I really like it off road.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love mine too. I also have the Trail Forks IQ app on there. So Trail Forks is another mapping program that's for
Don't
mountain
go
biking.
there. He doesn't care about
He
that.
didn't care. So that's mountain biking. So and I travel around the country and I want to go mountain biking someplace, and I can go on there, and just like with Ride with GPS or Strava, I can say, okay, find me a canned route. Suggest some different routes that other people have created and have put onto Trail Forks. I can pick one that's about the distance I want to do and looks like it hits the trails I want to hit, and then once I've added it to my library, then the next time I open up my Garmin, I can just grab it off the IQ app and start riding it, and then it tells me where to turn on the trails, and I don't
She
have
goes
to.
load, send.
Yeah, no plugging in, no nothing.
As in, send it, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to get up to speed with IQ apps then, because literally every time I go to look it up, because I always forget how to move a route into my Garmin all the time. And every time I go to look it up, even on the Garmin stuff, it says, put it in this folder. And when you start
yeah,
it up
you
the
can
next
do it
time,
manually
it
like
does.
that. If you have the IQ app, you don't need to do the plug-in.
Always syncing.
Huh.
Always.
Don't know what to tell you.
Maybe don't use your Wahoo so much.
But that's the thing. I use them both 50-50, I would say.
Bluff.
No.
Bluff. Because if you used them 50-50, you would know how to do your Garmin.
No, I think it's more that when I ride on the road, which is what I do with the Garmin, I know where I'm riding. I'm not trying new routes.
Right.
Right.
And when I'm riding gravel or off-road, I'm using the Wahoo, which is funny because if you're riding in a very heavily wooded area, I still have more problems with the Wahoo than I ever would with the Garmin.
Well, when you have it on, on the Garmin, you can choose how you get your GPS.
Right.
So there's two different. So I forget what they're called.
GLONASS
and like
whatever.
yeah.
So for mountain biking, it's kind of like the default setup for the mountain biking, and I go with that, and I've never had an issue
with your Wahoo.
With the Garmin.
Garmin, I never had an issue.
I've never had a Wahoo.
Yeah,
never had one.
But I'm saying with the Wahoo, it tends to be less. Example: if I'm riding up the path, and it's just the Fox River Trail. Just a regular ride up the Fox River Trail, tree covered in areas.
Right.
We would never even give that a second thought with a Garmin. With a Wahoo, there are sections like I'll think of a section here, but just past Algonquin Road, heading up, it's pretty heavily covered before it then opens up in the section that was just redone. But where it's heavily covered there, it would completely lose my speed. It would say I was going 13, I'd be going like 18 coming into it. All of a sudden, it says I'm going 13.
Then you pop out into the sunshine, and
then it goes
up.
back to 18. And I hadn't changed anything. And it got to the point where I don't really care. And at the end of the ride, it doesn't matter anyway because it's going to be based off of times and GPS points. And it's going to interpolate the speeds anyway. And who really cares?
Right.
But it was annoying. Because you'd look down, and if you weren't aware of what you were already doing, and you look down and you go, holy shit, I'm really dogging on this. I should really get up on it. So I got to the point where I actively just put a speed sensor on the bike because I was like, at least it will resort back to the speed sensor and pick that up so that I am not having that huge variability. I put the speed sensor on, put a new battery in it this season. I haven't really checked it, but I haven't noticed a problem. So I'm thinking that took care of most of it. But I know in the Wahoo, you probably have to change to one of those different satellite arrays or whatever the hell.
Yeah, if it has
protocols.
that option,
like 3 or 4.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
It would be shocked if it didn't.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I like using, I think they all have their good points. I love Strava for the heat map. And quite honestly, I'm not the kind of person that can go to a new area and look at an array of routes and just pick one and go with it. To me, it's like I have to use a combination of factors. I've got to see the heat mapping in that area. And if it takes me out on a larger road, I like to get on like Google Maps, zoom down, really see what the road looks like so that I got an idea if that's the kind of road I want to be riding on. The Google Maps picture the satellite image that they took. How many cars are on it at that point? You know, is this a busy road? Is it not a busy road? Does that shoulder look clean? Is it not look clean? You know, that kind of thing. So I use a combination of things, and call me a wuss because I just don't go ride stuff. So there's people like Doug Bauer, friend of the podcast, will go out and ride a lot of routes locally, and he's always going to cool places that I always want to go to with my bike. But then I look at how he goes there, and I'm like, I would never ride that. I would never get on that road. You know, I'm not comfortable. He obviously doesn't care and is comfortable with it, and it works for him. So more power to him. But me, it's just, so I know that when I'm looking at one of his routes, that I can't just take it at face value. I got to go and actually dig down and see what roads he's on. And I've run into that with a few people over the years. And even Anthony will pick a route and do one and send it over. And I'll be like, first couple times I load it into my thing and go with them. And I'm like, you know, later I'm like, no, that's not what I would have.
You would have hated the ride today because we were on like busy roads, but there was like 2 lanes in each direction. So we're like, just like, yeah, we're just going to own this lane over here and everybody can just go around.
That's kind of okay.
But my Garmin, my radar thing was like
constantly
the whole time. And I'm just to the point where it's like the kid who cried wolf. I mean, I'm not even listening to it anymore because it's just constant.
I have noticed that will bug me. That gets on my nerves enough while I'm riding that if it's constantly beeping and constantly going off, even though I know I'm okay, it puts me in this weird like state of impending doom. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't ever tire of my radar going off. Never.
Oh, I never tire of it, but if it's going off that much, even though I know I'm probably safe, and even unconsciously it seems to put me in this like weird state of
sucks when you're
doom.
in a group ride and it keeps going on.
I want to find out if there's a way
you
to
can
just
silence
quickly easily silence it while you're riding. How do you do
Probably
that?
hit a button.
Is there a button?
But knowing Garmin, it's probably buried under 4 different menus.
Probably.
That's the problem with Garmin. That's the problem I have with Garmin.
It's so simple.
If they fixed their menu structure and made it easier, I'd be happy. I will say I now have Di2 on my gravel bike, and it was my first real opportunity to ride for a long period with Wahoo with the Di2 integration, Bluetooth to it, and did that at the 10,000 this last weekend. And we can talk a little bit about that ride. We'd like to. I did not ride 10,000, obviously, but I did the 40 mile, and it was the first time opportunity I had to really spend a lot of time working with it. I got to say, the Di2 integration with Wahoo sucks compared to the Di2 integration with Garmin. So it's with Garmin, way nicer, way better. You can actually get the battery level off of it and have it displayed on your main display.
Yeah.
And also the this I can take one way or the other, but the gear display.
The gear display, the amount of shifts you do.
The amount of shifts I do, I didn't try to display that, and I haven't used that on the Garmin. I may look at that, but
it's pretty good because it gives you a default page, like when you connect the two.
Yeah.
Like when I got the Di2 and I connected it to Garmin, it gave you like a default page, and you can add or subtract whatever you want to.
Interesting.
See. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm to the point where I don't have multiple pages.
Left, right balance, the whole deal.
I do everything on one page, or I'm not going to look at it.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe I'm old school that way. I just don't like it. But old school and how I use my electronics. I understand the idiocy in that statement. I really do like. There's some things I do like. I do like how on the Wahoo, their Di2 integration for gearing, they actually show a diagram. So they show all your cogs and then your 2 chain rings, and it will light up the ones that it's in. And that I actually like. I think a little bit better than the Garmin call out, but I do like the Garmin call out. If you know your gearing, seeing the Garmin call out is just as effective or as interesting. And yes, I do like it because when I am placing myself in the situation where I'm climbing, I like to at a glance know how fucked I am.
Yeah.
To be like, oh shit, there's 3 cogs left. I'm doing better than I thought, you know? Or looking down real quick, don't even bother trying to shift. Because if you try to shift, it's not going to do anything, and then you're just going to be mad at yourself.
You're in the lowest possible gear you got, man.
Yeah.
Just
I like the fact that it beeps when I get to the end of the cassette.
I was going to mention that.
I
Garmin
like
does that.
So when I was flying into the climb at Snake Alley, I would just keep smacking the button until I heard the beep.
Yep.
Because it starts pitching up steep real quick.
And I will say there are times that I've been out and climbing some things and going into it, and I feel like I'm in a good gear and I'm going with it, and I don't hear that beep. And I'm going, all right, I'm in good shape. This is working out well. What the Wahoo does not have that beep.
Oh.
And I do miss it.
Oh,
I
that
noticed
would make
I
me
missed
sad. I like the beep.
The only way that I knew that I was all the way down without looking at the display was to just go for another shift and have it not do anything. You know?
I don't have that. I don't have the beep.
On Garmin?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably an alert setting. It's probably buried under 5 menus, but you
probably
can find it in there.
I could find it. I could care less about that.
Yeah, I know. You never hit that anyway.
No, I do sometimes.
So speaking of which, and all the climbing, how was the 10,000?
It's good. I enjoyed it. I've never been out there before.
Yeah, I'm asking you because of that, and because I know you did. You felt like you did well. Yeah.
I mean,
for you, for what you wanted to do. I mean, obviously, it's not a race.
It's not a race or anything, but I use it as a kind of like a benchmark to see where I'm at fitness wise. I used it solely for training purposes for the upcoming BWR North Carolina to see how I would fare on a similar style of course and distance. So
when is the Belgian Waffle, North Carolina?
June 10th.
Okay.
So we'll be leaving next week, get down there. And apparently, out of the entire brand of BWRs, it's apparently the hardest one of them all with the most climbing. So
interesting.
I think I'm only going to do the wafer.
What distance are you doing for that?
I'm going to do the wafer. I don't know
what that means.
It's not the waffle. The waffle's the long one, like 127 plus, 130 plus. Like I don't really want to be. I mean, I would like to do it one day. I'd like to actually do the original Belgian waffle in San Diego. So I'll get there and do the long one of that. But I'm only going to do the wafer, what they call the wafer. It's like 70 miles, 7,000 feet of climbing.
That's it.
Yeah. Get collective sigh for those of you watching. You can call me all the names you want. I don't really care.
No, that's long as it is.
I mean, 70 miles and 7,000 feet of climbing. You'll feel that. I don't care who you are. I think the long course is 127-ish, but it's got like 13 or 14,000 feet. So it's a doozy.
Nutty.
So I used the 10,000 as a training exercise for myself to see how I was, fitness wise, how I was nutritionally. I got a new hydro pack, so I tested that out, different tires and all sorts of stuff. So it was good. I enjoyed it. It's beautiful out there. It's my first time there.
So the rough math, you're looking at 1,000 feet per 10 miles.
Yeah.
And that's what we were getting out there.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, the Ride 10,000, Rafa, Ride 10,000, whatever it is, not really an official kind of thing. It's an unofficial official thing.
It's a bike party put on by Rafa.
And it's out in the Galena area. I'll call it the Galena area, but
the driftless region.
The driftless region of Western Illinois. And if you've been listening to us since the beginning, we used to go to the stage race that was put on by Triple X out there, Tour of Galena. They did that for a few years.
I always wanted to do that, never did.
And then they changed it to Illinois when they had to move out of Galena to Elizabeth, and they were based out of Elizabeth. Well, when we started riding the ride this weekend, I was at Elizabeth within like 10 miles, and going through it. Mm-hmm. And I guess I kind of knew I was heading to that area, but I wasn't exactly sure. I'm not the kind of person that sits down and looks at the specifics of everything and has it all arranged in my head. I'm kind of like shotgun in that approach. I just kind of go, okay, I know I got a car. I'm going there. Supposedly cool, gravel. I know it's going to take like an hour and a half. Good to go. All right. To get there, not to ride. So I did all that, but it didn't really sink in until we were riding. And then I started climbing. I was just telling Bill Barnes this just before we started this, but I was climbing and I looked up at one point as we were coming into a town and I saw an old fort and I went, man, that looks familiar. And then it dawned on me. I was like, the last time I was here, I vividly remember Bill Barnes trying to zip up a skin suit to do a TT. and it had to have been for like Illinois. And I remember him looking at me and going, "This is fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. It's not even a time trial. It's like a hill climb. You go up 2 really steep hills. It's ridiculous. It's so steep. It's just stupid."
It's my kind of TT.
And then it dawned on me by thinking that I just came up those steep hills that he was talking about, and yes, they were steep as hell. And so I was like, but no, that can't be the same place. If so, I was in that parking lot doing the maintenance and having we're not in Elizabeth, are we? And I turn around and I see, "Welcome to Elizabeth." And I was like, oh shit, I guess we are. So it was kind of a nice little memory and seeing that. But doing the rough math, I mean, these are rides that you're climbing 100 feet per mile.
Yeah, they were.
And when you put that in for
steep.
Perspective, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, they were good ones.
And when you average it out over the whole ride, you're doing 100 feet per mile. And every foot you're going up, you're going down.
The one thing I did like, going back to the debate on Wahoo, Garmin, whatever, it's the first time I've ever seen it pop up because, where we live, we have no hills. And it was cool when I, hit the first like real categorized climb. It said climb 1 of 17. I was like,
yep.
Oh boy. But it was cool to just see like the different gradients, know where you're at, and to know like, okay, I'm about to get my balls kicked in on this portion. Okay, we got an easy bit. Oh, this climb is 2 miles long. Okay, great. But it was cool to see.
So I've never looked at I've never used the Climb Pro stuff on
good.
Garmin. There's a feature on the new one. So my new 840 has something new where you don't have to be running on a canned course. It could just be out on a ride, and it'll know that you're on a categorized climb, and it'll automatically pop up that screen for you and kind of like tell you your things. And it used to be, I think, that you had to be like you're running a course or navigating a course, right?
That come up,
So I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah,
well, it's crazy because it popped up and it said climb 1 of 17, and it's like, all right, this is cool. So there's a lot more climbing to go, but what's not depicted is all the little steep, punchy rollers in between those climbs. It told you like you're on a climb, it's X amount of length, it's X amount of ascent, and then what I liked was it told you the distance to the next categorized climb.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, it told me the distance between. So like you'd come,
nice.
that would have been it'd be like 4 miles, whatever. But there was a bunch of
punchy stuff.
There was
in
a bunch of
between.
rollers in between, but
but you're not going to be climbing for minutes and minutes and minutes. No. Yeah,
I did like that.
I am familiar with that screen. I don't recall when I saw it, but I know I've climbed with it before, which would be quite a while back. Because let's face it, I don't do a lot of climbing. But I was riding this last weekend, and at some point, somehow I ended up riding with Brad Dash. And as we were going, he goes, "Oh," and I heard this like bleep, and his screen basically shifted over to that climbing screen because he had a Garmin going, and he was like, "Oh, one's this many miles, and well, it looks like we're doing this, and then, oh well, And I got to say, it's really cool. I would love to have that information at my fingertips. At the same time, the kind of shape that I was in towards the end of that ride, I don't know that I would have, like, there were a couple climbs where I think I would have, like, thrown my bike off the side of the hill if I knew at the start how long they were. Because there were a couple of them that were long enough that they turned and went around bends. And you couldn't see them
kicked
completely.
Up again.
And it was like, if I had seen all of that in my head before I started the climb, it would have made for a really rough climb.
Yeah, I did the 82, and there was a lot that were, 1.5, 1.75 miles in length. But it was like you'd get to the crest of one, it would roll a little bit, fall flat, and then it would turn, and then it would kick up again. So, and I liked that on that screen with the climbing, it gave me gradient percentages. So I knew the percentage that I was on.
I wouldn't want to know.
I knew the percentage that I was on, and it just kept feeling like 15 was the constant percentage.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is tolerable, kicked up once to maybe like 17. It got to the point where that was so repetitive and happened so much that 10% was a breeze.
Yeah.
10% was like, this is easy.
I got to say, I got to, at least for myself, I got to a couple sections where I was going, where I was like,
that's not a flex either.
I was like, wow, this is so much easier. And then I realized I was still climbing something that had to have been like a 4 or 5% grade.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, this is so much nicer than what we've been climbing.
You get beat down by those high double digits. And then like the low double digits or 10% is like, this is easy. And then 8, 6, 7, it's like, oh, I'm maxed out in gearing.
this is the year of climbing for me. I've been climbing way more than I ever would normally, and I don't want to say enjoying it because who really enjoys climbing? But
I do.
Well, okay, you do.
I absolutely love it.
I am enjoying it more than I would typically. So like in the past, I've had years like this where then I turn and I go out to like Wisconsin and I do like Blue Mounds area and I do like Horrible Hillies.
That's a great climb.
And all that kind of stuff. And I would go out there multiple times a year and do that. I even had a bike at one point. One year I built up I took a Salsa Podio that was a great crit bike for me, but I didn't have a need for it anymore. And so I took it because it was still extremely light and reactive. And I took, this is back before every group set out there was a climbing group set. And I put a compact crank on it and I put a, 1127 on it, so that was climbing gearing.
Yeah.
And I had the lightest stuff that I had. I had really thin section wheels and everything else, had it all set. And I called that my Wisconsin bike. And if we were doing a weekend going up there, I'd grab that bike, throw it in the thing, and that's what I would ride up and had the right gearing for me, had everything else. And I left all my crit bikes with the 5339s and everything else. I really enjoy doing that. And this is kind of a year where I think I'm kind of going that direction, and I may do some more of that because it is more interesting than just pounding your head out on a flat course forever, for sure. But, not without its fault. So I say I've been climbing more and I'm doing this and doing that or whatever. I mentioned this to you. I think I mentioned it to you, but the one thing that area of Illinois has that I had completely forgotten about is an overabundance of gnats and flies, like black flies, that will bite you after a while. And they are so thick. It's ridiculous. I mean, if you go there and you pull to the side of the road to like take a leak or something like that,
swarm.
You are going to be covered. If you have a flat, dear God, I hope you have glasses so that you can see.
That was everywhere you were outside the entire weekend along the Mississippi River for the crits.
I can see that, yeah. Because it's not that far away. It's the same general area.
And Brenda Fury was telling me about the vanilla body spray from
go.
Walmart.
Yep.
So I went there and I had to squirt it on myself every 30 minutes probably, but it did keep the gnats out of my ears and nose and eyes, and it was amazing, and I smelled good.
And I felt bad about it. I felt bad because I had learned that from her. It was either from her or somebody else during that whole Galena era. And I remember at one point they were so bad for us one year that we went out, and if you got even the vanilla flavoring for baking, and just
any
use
vanilla,
and just dot it around you, and it would take care of everything.
Like a cookie.
Smell like a yeah.
Which I love vanilla, so I'm fine with it. But don't make your stripper comment. I swear to God.
Hey,
you smell like a stripper. But
you said it.
I said it. So. But I remember we bought it, and you can't get the imitation vanilla. It doesn't work as well. You actually, the actual real vanilla works way better. But supposedly that's what I had heard. But I had totally forgotten about all this. So we go out there, and I'm riding, and I am climbing in some sections slow enough that this is becoming an issue. So I am going so slow and I ride. You guys have seen me, but I ride as far to the right as I can. No matter what road I'm on or what's going on.
That's your first problem.
I don't ride in the center of the road, because I'm like, you never know what could come down, So I'm riding as far over to the right as I can. I'm riding in the right hand.
You're riding in the sticks.
It's gravel, so I'm still riding where there's a car tire tread, whenever possible. But I'm riding over to the right, so I'm over by where all the vegetation is, and I'm going as slow as I'm going. And next thing you know, I am just getting swarmed. And this is the only time in my entire life I have stopped to climb and walked because I had so many bugs crawling into my nose, going into the back of my throat, crawling into my ears, and being all over my face. I was like, I cannot take this. It hit me more than once that way. And I was embarrassed because I had to walk because of that. But I literally couldn't breathe anymore because there were so many that were going into my mouth.
I don't mean to laugh, but I'm sorry.
Horrible. I was laughing at myself. But towards the end, I was like, do I really? Yeah, right? I just want to turn this gear. If I just had clean air, I could just turn this gear and do my thing. And it wasn't, it sucked. But I'm like, if I go back there, which I may go back there and try to do some of this,
should.
Here, I'm definitely going to bring some vanilla. So there's your trick.
Yeah, definitely should.
Stripper smell be damned.
It's a great area. I even thought about while I was writing, like, I'm going to buy a house out here.
It's a beautiful area out there.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
It is.
Just relentless.
Too bad it's an hour and a half away. But it's actually closer than getting up to the Driftless in Wisconsin, isn't it?
I don't know. It was like 2 hours for me.
All right, it was an hour and a half from my house, but I think it's like 2+ to get into the Wisconsin areas, like 2.5 hours to get up there for me.
Well, I did the Lacrosse Omnium one year, and that was like 4 hours for me.
Yeah,
that was a great race.
That's up there.
That's a good race.
It is.
That's a good race. So if you have never done it, do the Lacrosse Omnium next year. It comes around.
I can't help but think that anybody that's listening to us that's in an actual real area in this country is probably like, this is the most boring thing I've ever listened to. These guys talk about how great the climbing is in Illinois.
Yeah, true.
Hey, I was talking to Schratz one day, and he was telling me about this area. And I guess back in the day when the 10,000 was kind of like first going on, I think the Trek team came out, and it was an abysmally hot day, and they were like, it knocked them on their ass. And those are professionals.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there going, hey, they're talking about how great the climbing is in Illinois, come out and give it a shot if you don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, these areas, like I said, we're talking about 100 feet of climbing for every mile.
It is. I like to climb as much as the next climber likes to climb. And I was like, towards the end, I was like, man, this has been a very memorable day.
Yeah.
There's a lot here. And I remember I got super happy when I looked down and was like, climb 16 of 17. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. And the cool thing was the 17th climb, categorized climb, was a road climb. So I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
This is good.
That was one of those where I was climbing it and I went, this isn't nearly as bad. This is I can actually get out of the saddle.
Yeah. And there was a handful of times where because for every up, there's an incredibly fast down, and you're screaming down a gravel road, hoping you're not going to hit any potholes or washboards or anything like that, just like 40 miles an hour. And then you see a hill in the distance, and it just looks behemoth. And you're like, good Lord, I got to go up that again. And then you get closer to it, and it's not as bad. But from a distance, it looks monstrous. That happened all day. I was like, oh my God, look at this thing.
There was one point where there was multiple points where I looked down and I was thinking to myself, you cross that. For me, it's crossing this boundary of mentally thinking, I'm on this, I'm riding it out, whatever. And you just shut off your brain.
Yeah. There's no, like,
and you just do it.
If you were to bail out
think
somewhere
about it, and you would be, there are moments where you could probably get in your head too much, and you would probably want to bail. And if you bail, you are fucked.
There's no easy way out.
Yeah.
Like, it's either do what you said and continue on and just deal with it, or if you bail, who knows what you're getting into. And so I hit, my max for the day was 46 miles an hour on one of the descents. And it's, with me, I love descending, and I can go fast on descents. And my body just knows when I cross 40 miles an hour, the harmonics change. Everything changes and the bike starts to act a different way. And I love it. But it's one thing to do that on the road. It's another thing to do that on gravel. And it's another thing altogether to do it on a descent you don't know. Oh, yeah.
So doing it on a descent on gravel that I don't know puts me in a situation that isn't ideal for me.
I'm gonna squeeze the brakes a little bit.
Well, it's like, but the thing is too, on gravel, and I'm riding 35s, and I'm riding at 40 psi, and this is marbly, chunky gravel, know, and I know enough to know that I can't grab a fistful of brake.
Oh no,
because I'm going to be gone.
No.
And the road's got like a bit of a curve at the bottom, and the shadows are playing some tricks.
It's off camber.
You can't tell if it's like off camber, if there's like a channel in it, like a little tire gutter or something. And you're kind of like, or if it's super deep here and a little bit shallower there, and you're trying to figure all this out. And then you just when you get to that like 43, 44, 45 mile an hour range, to me, because my eyesight is the way that it is, and with the lighting the way that it is, it kind of all turns to TV snow to me. And so it's just like, you know what? I'm riding it out. And come hell or high water, it's just what it's going to be. And you got that way of just floating over it.
Yeah.
And just kind of, you think more about your mass, your body mass, and kind of getting it pointed in the right direction, knowing it will carry you through a turn regardless of what your wheels do. And that's fun, and I like that. At the same time, like I said, descents I don't know. Now I'm kind of familiar with at least a couple of them. And it's like, now I know that there's run out on some of those. Ooh, I'd be willing to pedal going down them this time instead of just coasting going down them.
Nope.
There was one or two that slid out. There was one that kind of sloped down, made this gradual turn, and I couldn't see it, but there was a huge climb right on the other side of it. And it was one of the few, because of the curve, I touched the brakes a bit, scrubbed some speed, and I got to the bottom and went, damn it. Because I could have made that curve. I could have carried that speed. Yeah. And if I had known that hill was there and that I could have carried that, I would have pedaled the whole way down. I would have carried as much speed as I could into it. I am a total, I got to carry the speed to get over rollers kind of guy. Otherwise, you might as well, go and get lunch and wait for me after we're done, because I'm going to be another 2 hours. I mean, as it was, Anthony finished an hour quicker than me.
Yeah, I passed Anthony.
That's just on ride time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let alone whatever I stopped for and whatever he stopped for.
Yeah, we stopped at the second aid station. I stopped, and then he rolled in like 10 minutes later.
And he and I left at the same time. We were only doing 40 miles.
Yeah, no, he looked
40 miles, and he got it done in an hour faster than me.
Yeah, he looked comfortable.
Yeah.
So kudos. Good job, Anthony.
I will say I wasn't in stress for most of it. And like I said, I was very surprised with how well I was doing through it. I was kind of like, I'm surprised I'm this far along and I feel as good as this, but the last 10 miles kicked my ass.
I will definitely be going out there again at some point this year, for sure.
I love how Anthony and I went on a recovery ride on Monday after you guys did that, and it was definitely not a recovery ride.
For you? Like you didn't? Or from him?
I think.
Who was pushing it?
I think we both were at times. And I'm not saying that we were going hard, but this, to me, a recovery ride is walking grandma pace. It is. I
totally agree with you.
We were both
doing it right.
We were both pretty happy and just riding nice tempo at times and just enjoying the path. And he was not apparently as tired as I thought he would be.
Can I go on record as saying I fully understand what a recovery ride is, or should be?
Yeah. I
have on multiple occasions been with all of you at times where you have said that you're doing a recovery ride. Those would never fit my definition of what a recovery ride is. Now, granted, I understand it may be a recovery ride for you. Definitely not a recovery ride for me. But I question all of your abilities to actually gauge what a recovery ride truly is. I just want to go on record as saying that.
I think I do know what a recovery ride is. I'm going to defend myself in this.
All right, you may know what it is, but you actually doing it when you say
do
you're
them.
Do it?
I do them.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying.
It is hard to do them with other people. When other people obviously want to ride a little bit faster, then it's like, okay, am I the person that's going to be constantly saying, can we slow up? Hey, can we slow up? Hey.
It's a recovery ride.
Or do I just ride
just let them go
a little bit in zone 2 and just be done with it?
You just let them go.
There's so many times where I've
sometimes
listened,
I do. Sometimes that's hard.
It's hard to do.
You listen to that negotiation that happens beforehand where everybody goes, "Oh no, it's recovery ride. Well, we're going to do a recovery ride."
Honestly, I've learned this enough.
Turns into a race.
That 99% of the time, if I'm doing a recovery ride, I do them alone because literally nobody is capable of riding as slow as what I need to ride when I say I'm doing a recovery ride. So I just do them alone.
I get that.
I love recovery rides. They're so good.
I
do too. I call it every ride I do.
I love it. When I get back and my average power was like 75 watts, I'm like, yes, I nailed it.
I still think that's like zone 4 for me, but whatever. That's a joke. Anyway, all right. So you're doing Belgian waffle ride. You're heading out to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Is that what's the next major one after that, or what are you hoping to achieve in this? I mean, I hate to bring goals or anything in there.
My main goal is to have fun. That's like where That's where my brain is headed.
To let go, to challenge yourself, to do the ride, to have fun.
To be in good shape, to be competitive for myself, wherever that lands me. If I get on a wide angle podium, I don't even know if there is one. Cool. If whatever, I don't, at this point, I don't really care, because the expectations of performing and getting a result have been 40 plus years for me, and I'm actually sick of it. And I want to start enjoying the purpose of the bicycle, which is to have fun, to ride with other people, to challenge yourself, and all the other things that, the bicycle gives to you, instead of, always searching for a result. If I go, my little calendar that I planned out has every style of racing you could probably do on it. And I think that's where I'm going. If I want to race a couple stages of Toad, I'm going to go do that. Why? Because I can do that. If I want to the next week race a mountain bike, I'm going to go do that. Why? Because I can do that and it sounds fun. Gravel race? Yeah, I want to do that. Fat biking? I don't have one, so I'm not saying I wouldn't check that box. I may talk a lot of crap on fat bikes, but it's because I know if I had one, I'd probably enjoy the hell out of it. So I give everyone listening or watching the the right to call me a hypocrite and make fun of me if you ever see me out on one. But yeah, I just want to mix it up. I want to ride everything. I don't just want to bike racing has been so seasonal. Okay, it's road season. Okay, I'm going to do this. It's cross season. Okay, I'm going to do this. It's this season. It's this season. I just want it to be bike season.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just want it to be bike season for me. Like I have missed in the past probably 6 years. I have put, okay, it's road season. I'm going to do this. Okay, now it's cross season, so I'm going to do this. I'm like, I don't want to waste my summers anymore. I want to enjoy summer riding and summer racing without having to go, oh, come September, you need to be in good shape to build for the cross season. I don't want to do that. I just want to enjoy bike season. That's it.
I can see that. I can see that's a general trend, but this kind of gets back to what we were talking about even last episode, where you were talking about how the racers today are more well-rounded.
Yeah.
And they don't come out as sprinters. They don't come out as like a stage race person or this or that. They're doing more racing, more types of racing, and they're going throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
They're not doing, I almost feel like this is the death of periodization and specialization.
From a trainer's perspective, yeah.
Yeah, and it that's my way of phrasing it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it seems to me like it's a moving away from that tradition.
Yeah.
That it's road season now. We do road stuff. We train road.
Yeah.
And you know how we always made the joke, nothing says cyclocross quite like August 1st. Well, dear God, if it's August 1st, you better put your road bike away.
Yeah.
No one's going to do that anymore. Yeah. And I see more people doing a more diversified approach, a more diversified schedule. And quite honestly, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. I would agree.
And really, at the end of the day, what are people really chasing?
I just think the generations coming up are seeing, there's the old guard and that did it its way. That's slowly getting tweaked. And now you've got your next generation coming in of young World Tour professionals like your Vanderpools, your Van Aerts, your Pidcocks, who are multi-disciplined athletes. And I think the crop of youngsters today are seeing that and are going, well, it works for them. Why can't it work for me? And they look like they're having a blast. Mm-hmm. I want to do that. Like, I want to be that. I don't just want to be a road racer. Maybe I'm not saying that there are riders that aren't like that just want to be a road racer or just want to be a mountain biker. It's whatever draws you to the bike, whatever kind of bike it is. But I think the athletes today want to be more than a one-trick pony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's been more and more racers even that have come in over the years that have said, I want to do X, that's my goal, and then they do it and then they leave.
Yeah.
And in the past, I would have said it would have been more common for somebody to say, I want to do, this is my goal, they achieve it, and then they double down and go for the next goal.
Yeah.
Along the same discipline. And you don't, it seems to me, and maybe it's the same effect, but it seems to me like we're not seeing that as much as
Possibly.
we used to.
I mean, if you're one type of athlete, why can't you get, instead of doing a 6-week training block that's structured, right? Because proper training is structured. Why can't you get the same benefit from a race scenario in a different discipline, if it makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
according to whatever the goals
right.
are.
Yeah, because I mean,
Depends on
obviously
your
there's
goals,
there's
right.
different.
Yeah.
You know, you get something different out of a cross race than you're going to get out of a road race.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you've said, "Hey, coach, this is my goal is to do all these crit races, and these are my A races," then you can't just be like, "Well, I'm going to go spend this weekend mountain biking," because I was like, "Well, that's
well,
not,
you can, but it'll affect
it
the
may
outcome.
not be what you need to do. Maybe you really need to be doing these interval sessions because this is what's going to prepare you for your goal that you said you wanted to have."
Yeah.
And that used to be my life. I let go of all that years ago, and I am so much happier now. It has extended my longevity in this sport massively to let go of the whole I'm training for this stuff. I have to stay focused on that. I can't deviate from the plan because these are the things I need to do to get me to my goal, to be the best that I can be when I arrive at the start line for these events. And now I got to a point where I went through some different iterations of, I'm just going to ride my bike and have fun. But then I lost fitness, and then I couldn't keep up with people because I wasn't really. So I finally, I was just like, you know what? I want to train. I want to put as much money in the bank as I possibly can all winter long. Just strength train in the gym and do the right kind of riding so that when race season starts, I can decide based on my mood any given weekend, hey, I'm going to go do a mountain bike race. Hey, I'm going to go jump out and do track racing on Thursday night. Hey, I'm going to jump in a crit. Hey, I'm going to go do a 4-hour mountain bike race. I want to do whatever I decide that I want to do that looks like fun, knowing that I have so much fitness in the bank that I've built up over the winter that I can go do it. Now, am I going to achieve my absolute best result at that one event that I didn't specially train for the whole winter? Probably not, but do I care? No.
No, you know why? Because you had fun. You had fun. And
I'm fit, and I'm still fast enough to at least be part of the game.
Yeah. If you're riding your bike in whatever discipline you're riding in, you're getting fitness for whatever is to come.
Right.
It's going to look different. It's going to feel different, but you're not losing any fitness. You're gaining it in a different way. You're gaining it in a completely different way. It's better to always have it than not have it and have to try to build it, you know?
Right. So mine is, my training plans tend to be a mix of, I do structure, but it's not carved in stone. Sometimes it's like, I know I was supposed to do a recovery ride today because I have intervals to do tomorrow, but I had the opportunity to go do a long, fun ride with a friend, so I did that instead. So that means the intervals tomorrow will maybe be a little bit harder because my legs won't be as fresh, or I move them to another.
Or it's going to be really good.
Or it could be really good. Who knows?
You never know.
I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I launched from as well. Like mine, you're in the game for so many years and decade after decade, and when you get trained, you understand it. You see the benefits of training certain ways, and then when you step away from having a trainer or a coach or what have you, you still know what to do. Like it does, you don't forget what to do. Like you can look at your Training Peaks or whatever platform you focus on and go, okay, I've really been doing a lot of zone 2 here, peppering in some zone 3. It's this time of the year, this is coming up, I need to do some top end, and you can formulate your own plan, either in a structured way or through a different discipline. You can get top end work on a mountain bike.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. My favorite time of year, it always seems like after the crit season here. So Toad in June and July. And Telly in July. I tend to be pretty much primarily focused on crit racing at that time. But then come August, it's I will have, and I have had multiple weeks where I will have all 4 of my race bikes in the back of my car because I'm using them all in that same week. My mountain bike, my cross bike, my track bike, and my road bike. And I'm like, I'm just going to leave them all in my car because one day I'm on one and one day I'm on the other one. And it's like, Yeah.
It keeps the freshness to it. You don't get stale and burnt out on, oh God, I've been riding this mountain bike for X amount of days or weeks, or I've been on my road bike for 6 months now. I just want to get off it.
Yeah, you get sick and tired of riding the same routes all season long, and then in this come fall, it's just like just mix it up and and that's my favorite time of year.
Yeah, I'm actually concerned because we've been mixing in our normal fall ride. We've been mixing it like we're doing it tonight, and I always look forward to the fall transition of like going to that route and stuff. But now that we're doing it all year,
well, you know what? It's time to create a new route.
Mix something, miss something.
Create a new route, a new fall route.
Now we need to do a border run. We need to do another border run out of the blue for no reason. We just need to pick a day.
Yeah, I'd love to get the invite this time.
I would like to still be a part of the group.
Are we still doing the 4th of July ride? Do you
to be honest, listen to me.
You want me to throw out the rubber band?
Okay, the 4th of July ride. I feel like I need to give a little bit of background to people that are listening to this because they're listening to us have a personal conversation here. The 4th of July ride is held down in Plainfield. It's got a long tradition because at the exact same time as the 4th of July ride, we have another thing going on, which is called the
Metzrick.
The Metzrick. So,
I thought you were talking about one and the same.
What do you mean?
No, the Metzrick. I didn't know you had.
I know what that is.
It starts there, but they have their own route.
Yeah.
So
they have their own
it's
thing.
kind of interesting because for those of you that have ever done like a century ride, you know kind of what this thing looks like. It's a mass of humanity that park in whatever huge high school parking lot, and people of all ages, sizes, shapes, colors, creeds, whatever, are all milling around and getting their maps and getting their little bracelet and figuring out, meeting people, saying hi, doing whatever, figuring out what time they're going to leave. And they roll out whenever they want to roll out, and they do the course the way that they want to do the course. That's cool. I like doing that stuff. I've always done that stuff off and on throughout the years. But this is one where that is going on, and it's one of the largest ones in the area. So there's a lot of people there. At a random, I don't want to say random because there's a specific time, but at a certain time in that parking lot at the same time, you see this checkered group of some of the fastest riding hardcore roadies in the world just kind of come out of the woodwork.
In the world.
And, in our area, come out of the woodwork. Sorry. Come out of the woodwork.
They just rise from
I'm really
the soil.
selling this.
They just rise from the soil.
There's zombies from years gone
They're
past.
amoebas and they just take human form.
But they all collect in this area. And if you know Sean Metz, you get a kick out of this because Sean...
He didn't create this ride, by the way. This was not him.
But it is...
He'll take every credit you give him
bit of credit.
He created this ride.
And him rolling in, it is this... I love the man. He's not the most humble individual on the face of the planet.
Right.
Okay. When it comes to just general things. So anything that kind of strokes his ego or feeds his ego a little bit takes him to another level. He's going
to listen to this.
I know. Love you, Sean. He is in a state of nirvana when he rolls up on this because in a way they are all there for him.
Usually 10 minutes late.
He rolls up 10 minutes late, 5 minutes late, whatever the hell it is. And it is like he rolls up and that is the signal to everybody, okay, it's time to go. And it's just cool because you see a lot of the people that you normally see in other situations and stuff. And they are all there to do this ride and they are all there to rip each other's legs off, to absolutely beat people senseless, to rain down upon the field a level of destruction that they have not even witnessed in a criterium for a very long time.
Right.
This is an no holds barred, all hands off, no rules apply, fucking race.
Oh yeah.
On open public roads with one of the largest fields that you've seen in any criterium.
Yeah.
for years.
200.
I mean, 200 people probably are out and doing this thing to give you kind of an idea of
it got
the way
so
this
big that they used to just use the same route that the Century
they
ride
can't
was
now.
on. They took it off that and they went and did their own route because it was becoming a problem with all the recreational riders that were riding to have this huge pack of people that are essentially racing.
I mean, I'm not going to say that recreational riders don't know how to ride in a pack or don't know, but you understand there's speed differences.
Oh, yeah.
And there's different things that you have to be able to do. And you've got a lot of, when you're riding the same route with a lot of recreational riders, they were doing centuries. I know when I used to do centuries all the time, it was like, hey, cool, there's a good group coming by. I'm jumping on them. I can't even imagine how many times somebody tried to jump on that group and hold on to it. Yeah. And it just wasn't happening. So they do a different route.
To the camera.
Oh, is that a trophy?
That's my metric trophy from 2019.
So you won it in 2019? I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
It says winning means nothing.
Nice.
That's perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, he went in. Some kid went early on, like, I don't know, 7 minutes in. I went with him. Then, he kept sucking my wheel, and I kept trying to get him to pull through, and he kept shaking his head off. So
you drop him.
So I left.
And you can do that.
I soloed for 73 miles.
Well, okay, so last year,
but it was a different route.
Last year we had a slightly different mission.
Okay, so
different purpose.
No flex.
For me, I go out and I do the 4th of July ride because it's a nice opportunity to go out and get longer distance riding in on a route that I don't normally do, and I will do the traditional, cookie ride, where I'm going to the rest stops and seeing everybody and I see a lot of people that I know. So it's kind of nice to see people and say hi and everything else. Last 2 years, we've done it twice now.
No, we did it once last year, was a friendly ride that we all decided to, Rich Smott was sitting in the office and we were all like, hey, we should do this.
I thought we've done it twice though.
No, once. Maybe you've done it more than last year, but last year was the birth of the group of the 4 of us that had this decision that we were going to drag Kenny out and see if he would do the ride.
No water bottle, Kenny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kenny, it's 97 degrees.
I want to say we did it twice, but anyway, regardless, I think we've done it 2 years. There was only 1 year where then Kenny actually went and started riding again after that. So for those that know, you've heard Kenny LeBay. He's been on the podcast, but he basically, after being a professional racer, just kind of walked away from the bike, came back to the sport. Is that rain?
Yes.
Wow.
We need it.
Yeah, we do need it. That's a Midwestern thing to say. We always say that. We need the rain.
We need it.
He kind of walked away from the bike for whatever reasons. They're all personal to him, but we've always kind of felt this desire or need to want to bring him back to the bike because we know how much he loves cycling and we know how much he loves to be a part of it. So we made it a point, and I overhauled his bike, his freaking Postal team bike, put a new bottom bracket in it, overhauled it. I think I've talked about this, but I found the right tires and talked to the old mechanic on the team and got some parts and everything else. So recreated his bike, got it running again, and with the intention that he would come out and ride with us at the 4th of July ride. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, yeah, no, I'll do it and whatever. And we're going to get you down and we're going to do 13 miles an hour the whole way. That's what we're doing. We're doing 13 miles an hour. And no, I can go slower than that. We'll go 12 miles an hour regardless. So we get this friend group together. It's cool, whatever.
We had Smott's kids.
Yeah, and my kid.
Andrew
was there. Anthony, you, me, Kenny, Rich, and our kids. So we're rolling around trying to figure out when we're rolling out. And Julie was out there. My wife was out there at the same time too, but she was doing her own route because she didn't even want to try to stay with us. She was not happy about that, but she wanted me to ride with her, but she was out there doing it, and I give her credit. We rolled out, and of course, it turned into like any other ride, very quickly on. I don't care if he hasn't been on a bike for a long time or whatever. He's an ex-professional cyclist,
He was hurting from...
I don't care.
He was hurting pedal
us.
Stroke.
He was hurting us.
At least he claims he was. He just hides it well.
It was at one point, Rich and I are riding together, and we're getting dropped. And and not everybody is even there. I think it was the 2 kids and maybe Kenny, maybe you. and you guys were rolling off. And I think even Anthony was behind us. And Rich looks at me and goes, God, it's been a lot of years since I've been dropped in a tailwind. And it was a tailwind, and we were going downhill. And it was like a 20-some-odd mile-an-hour tailwind, and we were getting dropped. That's how much everybody was pushing it that day. So it was a friendly ride that became very unfriendly very quickly. It was one of those situations.
Yeah.
Now, since then, Kenny has rediscovered his love of cycling. He has gotten a couple bikes. We've gotten him out there, and then he has found his own ways, and he's getting back out there and riding a shit ton now. And he went with us to camp, put a lot of miles in at camp. He's fallen back in love with the sport and riding like you wouldn't believe. With that in mind, I am not doing the 4th of July ride with any of you. What I think I might do is I think I might do it with my wife and just go out and enjoy the time out there, because I don't care what anybody says they're going to do for the 4th of July ride, because I know that they're lying through their teeth. And I have no desire to go out there. Rich has not been riding this year, so he's not going to be able to join us and go riding with us. If he does, he's going to be wanting to ride at the speed that I kind of want to ride at. Mm-hmm. And I just want to enjoy the day. I will push myself if I need to, but I can't push myself that hard to stay with you guys. And I know that whether we like it or not, what's going to happen is Kenny has gotten himself back into enough shape. He's going to do the metric. There's no chance in hell that he's going to really, he'll say that he wants to do the ride with us and whatever else, but his heart is going to want to do the metric. He's going to want to go out there and beat up on somebody for as much as he can.
If he might.
If he didn't,
he
now
keeps
he's certainly thinking about it now that
he jokes about it, and then he says no, and then he's like yeah.
Dude,
yeah, no,
once a racer, always a racer.
Dude, he is down. He's lost so much weight,
almost 60 pounds. At this point.
I'm not going to say that he's got his form back, but he's got form, and he was an ex-pro. The boy can turn some pedals, and he has no business sitting there riding with us on this damn thing, or at least with me on this damn thing. Maybe with you, but he needs to go and do the metric for sure, and at least give it a shot. Because he's not going to be happy if he doesn't. At some point, he wants to go back and ride the bone ride, Right. And if you're going to do the bone ride, hey, first step's going and doing the metric. Same idea, unsanctioned race on open roads.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's a roundabout way of me saying, no, I'm not doing the 4th of July ride with you. Sorry. If you have no one else to do it with, and we can get some other people to get together, and they're not going to make a complete ass out of me, and I'm not going to get dropped every 5 seconds, maybe. Otherwise, I'm going to make a complete ass out of myself and do it on my own where no one else can see it.
Okay.
It's the best place to do it.
Exactly. All right. With that in mind, we're at an hour and 12 for an episode that, once again, we didn't think we had anything to talk about.
Not bad for not knowing what we're going to talk about.
And sitting here and thinking we're not even going to record one. But obviously, so Mike has his thing going on. He is running clinics with Pedaling Minds and camps with Pedaling Minds right now. Take a minute, go out to pedalingminds.org, and if you see so fit, please make a donation and let them know that you heard about it on the podcast. Great organization, great mission, nonprofit, so tax-deductible donation as well, if that means something to you. As always, go out and find Enzo's Buttonhole Chamois Cream at your favorite local dealer. If they don't have it, tell them that they can go and get it. They can get it from us directly, or they can go to their most popular distributor, and odds are they have it sitting on the shelf. So apart from that, get out there and enjoy the ride.